Welcome into the show, everybody. So glad to have you guys in. Is this working yet? Are we on here? Yeah. Looks like we're on. I appreciate you guys tuning into the video. We are going to be previewing Monday Night Football tonight. Yeah. I wasn't sure if my thing was working. I was like, is this on or what? Yeah, we're going to be previewing Monday Night Football tonight, and we're going to be talking about both games. We're mainly going to be talking about lineup decisions. I'm not going to be I didn't really prepare any material for this live stream. So basically what I'm going to be doing is answering all fantasy football questions regarding start sit decisions for tonight's game. It's basically just going to be a live Q&A. So I'm not going to be doing rankings or anything like that for next week until later in the week, but we're going to be previewing tonight's games, answering all start sit questions, and answering any fantasy football questions that you have. Let's fix your fantasy football lineups. Let's help navigate through all of these ridiculous amount of injuries that we've had, and let's get our best lineup on the field for tonight. And if you have any questions about like any bets tonight that you have on tonight's game, you might have to let me know what the over is or what the under is if you're planning on betting an over or an under on Underdog Fantasy, but I'll give you my opinion on that if you want to bet on some games tonight as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. How we doing? Ask away with your fantasy football questions. Let's get this comment section rolling, and let's get things started. FBU, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for liking the video. Anybody who isn't or who is in here who hasn't liked the video yet, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week for the rest of the fantasy football season, and we're doing it live. So we're going to be doing it on this channel pretty much every Thursday and Friday is when I do my rankings. I do my wide receiver rankings on Thursday. I do my running back rankings on Friday because I like to do my rankings a little bit closer to the start of the full slate of games on Sunday, so that way we can get the most accurate rankings possible. I know most content creators do it earlier in the week, but I'm going to be doing my live streams every Thursday, Friday. I'm going to be doing live streams every Sunday morning, even though I missed the live stream yesterday. I'm going to be live streaming all these Monday Night Football games, previewing the games, and making sure we get our best lineup on the field. Ask away with your fantasy football questions, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. How are we doing tonight? How we doing? So I won this week even with Evans and Garrett Wilson. Poor performance. I think I'm going to try to trade both of them for CD. What do you think? Okay, even with Evans and Garrett Wilson's poor performance, I don't know, man. I mean, CD Lamb hasn't really been that good. I mean, I understand that you're getting a guy who's like the consensus like 101 pick in a lot of PPR leagues outside of Christian McCaffrey when you're trading for CD Lamb, but like, I don't know. I don't like giving up the wide receiver depth off your roster right now, considering the fact that CD Lamb hasn't been that good. CD Lamb would be needing to look really, really damn good in order for me to want to give up two wide receivers that I still think are going to be good this season. I understand that Garrett Wilson has underperformed. I still think he's going to be fine in this offense. I don't really think that there's an astronomical difference between Garrett Wilson and CD Lamb. I think that CD Lamb will have the better fantasy season, but only by a little bit. And then Mike Evans is still a guy who's going to come out and get you a good performance almost every single week in fantasy. Although the targets were down this past week, he drew a tough matchup. I wouldn't let one bad week deter us off Mike Evans and cause us to sell Mike Evans. I think I would actually keep the Mike Evans and Garrett Wilson side of this trade because none of these wide receivers have been that good so far. So I don't know. I would rather keep my depth. I got Dak also and Amari and Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. My God, you're stacked on this team as far as your wide receiver depth. That's for sure. So yeah, that's good. I got Dak also, Amari and Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're putting together some stackability there with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but stacking's overrated in your everyday redraft leagues anyway. I mean, I don't know. I even though you're getting the Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb stack, it's fun to stack. It adds a little bit of value to your roster, but I'm still keeping the Mike Evans and Garrett Wilson side of this trade. I just think it's more It's more profitable. I mean, you're keeping two players that could be very good versus getting one player that, really has underperformed so far in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the dude hasn't even come out and had a 100-yard receiving performance yet. Hasn't even had a game, I don't believe, where he's gotten double-digit targets. So that's a really big-time red flag for CeeDee Lamb. He's just not getting targeted as heavily as he was last year, and everybody thought he was going to come out and get 15 targets a game. That has not been the case. So I don't know, man. I thought CeeDee Lamb was being a little bit overdrafted going into the season. I liked him, don't get me wrong, but I thought he was better as a middle of the first round pick or maybe a late first round pick as opposed to like an early first round pick. Thoughts on Baker? I made a session to put Baker and put Dak in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Neither quarterback offers you rushing upside. So you're strictly going on who you think is going to pass for more yardage. And if you look at this Cowboys offense, they've been playing in a lot of really high-scoring games where Dak has been forced to pass. I mean, this last game, Dak had such a good performance because the Cowboys were forced to try to come back at the last second. I mean, they were down 28-6 late in the game. So Dak Prescott ended up throwing for 300-plus yards, getting the rushing touchdown, everything like that. A lot of that production was because of the fact that we're playing from behind. I think that it was very much game script dependent why Dak had such a good game. That being said, overall, from the fantasy season-long standpoint, I think that Dak Prescott will net you more points than Baker Mayfield. So I think we're going to be playing Dak Prescott over Baker with confidence most weeks, despite Baker's hot start. I don't know. It's still very, very early in the season, and I'm really not that big on either quarterback from a fantasy perspective, but I am leading Dak Prescott over Baker Mayfield. Who are the Bucs playing in week 4 again? I'm drawing a blank on the matchup for some reason, but I need to know the matchup for Baker Mayfield in week 4 to give you a concrete answer on this, but I'm leaning Dak in almost every scenario. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with your fantasy football questions. Blow up the chat. Ask as many questions as you want. We are previewing Monday Night Football. We're about an hour and a half away from the first game of the Monday night slate. We got 2 games tonight. I'm pumped. I know you guys are as well. Should I drop Cook to pick up Turpin? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's tough, right? Brandon Cooks, should I drop Cook? You're talking about Brandon Cooks? You must be talking about Brandon Cooks, right? Cooks, plural. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions. We are going to be doing it live tonight. Yes. I don't know, man. I'm not going to let a few bad weeks from Brandon Cooks and, one slight spike week from Turpin make a drastic decision on this. I think when you're looking at it from a season-long standpoint, I still think Brandon Cooks is going to net you more fantasy points. So I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going to drop Brandon Cooks for Kevontae Turpin, however you say it. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you're in here and you watch my content all the time, but for whatever reason you haven't subscribed yet, know that in order for my channel to grow, in order for me to keep doing these live streams, I do need people to subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate it very much, guys. And file on in, ask away with all your fantasy football questions, and let's blow up this comment section. They play the Eagles. That's a tough matchup. I was going to probably say Dak either way, but yeah, you're definitely starting Dak now. That's a tough matchup. Eagles are a tough defense. That being said, the Eagles are involved in a lot of high-scoring games, but it's not really because their defense isn't good. It's because they're always putting points on the board. Of course, this past week wasn't that high-scoring of a game, so I don't know. Either way, we're going to be playing Dak Prescott. It's a pretty easy decision for me. Andre in the house. What's up, my man? Good to see you in here, man. Ask away with your fantasy football questions. We got Monday Night Football tonight. We got 2 games. I'm pumped. I mean, this makes the Monday night, outlook just so much. It's just so much better, right? We got more bets to place. We got more players playing. We got more best ball implications. The game started at 6:30. We don't have to wait all the way until 7:20. I'm absolutely screwed in this one league starting 0-3. Sorry about that, Andre. You might need to make some trades. And obviously, when you start 0-3, it's desperation time. We're at a point where we really need to start winning now. If you start 0-4, your odds of making the playoffs are just so slim. Mark Andrews is giving me 0 points every week. Help me save this team, bro. Drop your team in the comments. Let me try to see what I can do for you because you absolutely have to get a win this week, bro. You can't start 0-4. Yeah, Mark Andrews. Look, man, I drafted very few shares of Mark Andrews on Underdog, and I was telling people to fade him this year, but I didn't think he was going to be this bad. I mean, Mark Andrews has been absolutely terrible. It's crazy seeing the shifting of the guard to the tight end position. I mean, we've got guys like Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, who have been the two best tight ends in fantasy for such a long time, really start to fizzle out and not be the players that they used to be. And then we've got these new tight ends emerging, and it's a shifting of the guard at the tight end position. It's very, very interesting to see. And both Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews have certainly disappointed this year, especially Mark Andrews. My God, he's been terrible. He's been so bad. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Welcome into Crushing Fantasy Football. I'm answering all your fantasy football questions for week 3 of the fantasy football season. We still got 2 more games. I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions for week 4 as well. So, if you've got some week 4 questions coming up, go ahead, ask away in the comments. Kyren Williams, Jacobs, Amon-Ra, T. Higgins. Well, your team isn't bad. Hurts has underperformed so far. Kyren Williams finally had a good week. Josh Jacobs was terrible this past week. Amon-Ra, T. Higgins, Andrews, flex, Reed, bench, Braylon Allen. Do I have to trade Kyren? Yeah, I think you might have to because, if you really look at this team, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've got T. Higgins. I think what you need, I'm assuming this is a full PPR because you didn't mention what type of league format it is. I think that Kyren Williams is a guy who's going to go off as long as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are out of the lineup. But if you're looking at it from a season-long standpoint, I think you need another beast wide receiver to go along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I do think that T. Higgins will have a decent game tonight, and you might be able to sell high on him. So, what I would do is I would potentially sell Kyren Williams. But if you're going to sell Kyren Williams, coming off a week that he just had, you better get a freaking elite wide receiver one. And yeah. I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Kyren is a monster, but it doesn't mean that he's not sellable. Anybody's sellable for the right price. Anybody's sellable for the right return. And you absolutely got to do something because your team is 0-3. And if you're looking at it from a long term and you really want to come back with this team and take it all the way, I don't think Kyren's going to be that good when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua come back. Granted, that's going to be a little bit of time and you are in win now mode, but you can't sell high on Kyren Williams coming off a monster week. I've lost by 1.2 weeks in a row. Dude, that's just variance, man. That's just getting a little bit unlucky with your matchup. That's going to happen. I'm sorry about that. I hope you're in enough leagues this year to sort of make up for stuff like that happening to you. It's always a little bit disappointing when you lose multiple weeks by 1 point, especially in a PPR format. That's absolutely brutal. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the video. Ask away with your week 3 fantasy football questions, week 4 fantasy football questions. We are getting our best lineup on the field for the next few weeks. We're waiting for this chat to fill up, but I appreciate you guys' comments so far. Yeah, bro, I'm in another league where I followed your rankings. I'm smashing right now, 3-0. It is good to hear that, man. I always like to get, feedback on my rankings actually helping people out. I know that we have hit on a lot of things so far on this channel this year. I mean, we've hit on Alvin Kamara. We've hit on Chris Godwin. It looks like Amari Cooper is potentially going to bounce back as long as this injury isn't too serious. We've definitely hit on a lot of players that are absolutely going off in the early season and smashed on them as far as draft value. Yeah, Chris Godwin, one of the biggest steals in the draft so far. My most owned player on Underdog Fantasy. Feel like I talk about that every video. Don't care. Probably will keep talking about it every video. But the bottom line is we've got a guy in Chris Godwin who is the wide receiver 3 in fantasy right now. Chris Godwin is the wide receiver 3 in fantasy, and he was drafted in round 7. He's outperforming all these dudes that got drafted in round 1, outperforming CeeDee Lamb, outperforming Tyreek Hill, outperforming all these guys that went in round 1. Chris Godwin smashing all of them, and he got him in round 7. What a freaking steal Chris Godwin is. And he's had 8 targets, and 9 targets. This is a guy who's come out and averaged almost 10 targets a game. He's averaging about 8.5 targets a game, eating out of the slot, as we knew he would. We knew with the coaching changes, moving back to the slot, this dude was going to tear it up. This dude is going to be a fantasy monster this season. Should I buy low on Worthy? No. I don't think Worthy's getting enough target share, bro. It looks like he's going to be used a lot more as a gadget player than an actual wide receiver. They're using him on a lot of end arounds and jet sweeps. They use him to stretch the field so Rashee Rice can get, open underneath and get 900 targets a game. It looks like Rashee Rice is by far and away the wide receiver 1 in this offense. I'm slightly getting concerned on Travis Kelce, and I am very concerned on Xavier Worthy. I don't think he's a player that we're going to be wanting to buy low on because I don't know. I'm just starting to have my doubts about him. What receiver should I target with a Kyren trade? You better get one of the a top 5 overall receiver. It's got to be a top 5 overall receiver. And I would even maybe get greedy and want to throw in another piece. I mean, Kyren Williams was one of the best running backs in fantasy this week. If you are trading Kyren Williams, you already have Amon-Ra St. Brown, so you wouldn't be targeting Amon-Ra. I would say Justin Jefferson, but I don't know, man. I'm still not sold on Justin Jefferson, like as far as like if you wanted to trade Kyren Williams for him, because Justin Jefferson still hasn't had a double-digit target game. So while he's been very productive, he's been JJ as ever, he still hasn't been getting that same target share that he was getting with Kirk Cousins. Kyren for Nico Collins and David Montgomery, nope, wouldn't do it. You need a mega beast wide receiver, even better than Nico Collins. And I understand that David Montgomery's had a pretty good role in his offense, but yeah. The guy would have gotten Kyren and Bijan. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, it might be like, I'm telling you, bro, you might need to hold Kyren unless you get like a super beast player, because this dude's coming off one of the best weeks. And at least, well, yes, I would trade Kyren for CeeDee Lamb. If you could have the combination of Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb at your wide receiver slot, you have 2 wide receivers that could finish as top 5 overall wide receivers in fantasy. Whereas I don't think Kyren will be a top 5 overall running back at the running back position. I think you're getting a steal. I think right now, if you trade Kyren for CeeDee Lamb, you are getting an upgrade, and you'll have the combination of Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions. We are getting ready for week 3 of the fantasy football season, week 4 of the fantasy football season. Ask away at Dunze or Worthy rest of season. Probably a Dunze, bro. I don't trust Xavier Worthy's target share. I mean, I just don't. This dude just isn't getting targeted enough. It looks like Rashee Rice is by far and away the best target in this offense, the most targeted player in this offense. He's out-targeting Travis Kelce by a significant margin, and it looks like the entire offense is going to run through Rashee Rice. Bro, Worthy's first game was a fluke if you think about it. Oh, it absolutely was. And I was a little bit worried about that. Now, I like to see him get out and produce. I like to see him take the top off the defense and, get wide open downfield like he did in week 1. But he's got to do that because he's not getting the target share to sustain elite fantasy production really at all. So, yeah, he needs to get more targets. And right now, Rashee Rice is eating all the targets in the offense. This is Rashee Rice's offense. It's clearly the way that they run the offense now. There's really nobody else that you want in the offense that badly outside of Rashee Rice. And I would still say Travis Kelce, although I'm starting to have my doubts, but I'm still I want to encourage people to still hold on to Travis Kelce. I don't think you should drop him or try to sell him or anything like that or trade him or anything like that. We're holding on to Travis Kelce for now. It's definitely an offense that's run through Rashee Rice. And Xavier Worthy is not getting the necessary target share to sustain elite fantasy production. So I am a little bit worried about it. Andre says, once you made the mistake yesterday, Pat stopped looking. Once he made the – yeah. I mean, and it's kind of like that. An Andy Reid offense is a cutthroat offense. Look what happened to Kadarius Toney. The dude was set up to be the wide receiver 1 of the offense, had a few drops in week 1, got put in the doghouse, and then was essentially in the doghouse for the rest of the season, made a few more mistakes, and then ends up getting released by the team. You can't screw up in this Kansas City offense. They're here to win Super Bowls, and you've got to get the job done. What's up with Andrews, bro? He's old. Andrews is not the player that he used to be. Look, Mark Andrews has always been a tight end that really thrives on elite target share. He's never been that incredibly explosive. He's never been that incredibly talented. He has thrived in fantasy from elite target share and really being the only target hog in his offense, because when he was in his prime, there were no receivers in this offense. They didn't have Zay Flowers. They didn't have, what they had last year where they had Zay Flowers and Bateman and Odell Beckham and everything like that. The fact of the matter is, Mark Andrews dominated because of target share. He was never that good to begin with. And now you've got a younger, more athletic Isaiah Likely at the tight end position. You've got an actual wide receiver 1 in Zay Flowers, although he's a Dollar Tree wide receiver 1. He's still a wide receiver 1. Andrews is just not going to be the player that he used to be. He's never going to be what he was. And these turnovers with Hurts are crazy. It's early. I wouldn't panic on Jalen Hurts whatsoever. Jalen Hurts is still going to be one of the best assets in fantasy. But what we do have to keep in mind is that with Saquon Barkley, he is going to siphon touchdowns away from Jalen Hurts. And we were a little bit worried about that coming into the season because Saquon Barkley is an elite goal line back. So, and he's an elite rusher. He's providing big playability out of the backfield. And what that's doing is, while it's creating some more, bigger lanes for Jalen Hurts to run through, the opportunity share just isn't there for Jalen Hurts as a rusher that it was when he didn't have Saquon on the team. So that's a little bit of a downgrade as far as Jalen Hurts' overall upside. And as far as the turnovers, though, I think that they're fluky. I think that Jalen Hurts will get it together. I don't think that we're going to have to worry about too many turnovers. Need 35 points from Kincaid, James Cook, and Bass. Totally doable. I'm assuming this is PPR, Ryan. If it's PPR, it's totally doable. Even in a standard league, it's totally possible. Look, Kincaid is due for a breakout game. I mean, I think it could happen tonight. I don't know that he's necessarily going to explode or do anything crazy, but look for him to finally come out and do something. Maybe 16 or 17 fantasy points from the tight end position in PPR formats is totally possible for Kincaid tonight. James Cook, we saw what kind of upside he has. We've seen the weekly ceiling, and you've got a kicker in a good offense. So, it's totally doable. I don't want to say that it's likely, but I give you at least a 40% chance. It's not that unlikely. Appreciate you guys following on in. Ask away with your fantasy football questions for the season. Jake Ferguson did it cool for week 3. Oh, yeah. Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson's a good tight end. I mean, if you look at this offense, I mean, who else are they going to target, right? Fergie has got to go off just by default, right? Like when they're not targeting CeeDee Lamb, by far and away, and it's not even close, the next best pass catcher in this offense is Jake Ferguson. The Cowboys desperately need a running back. The Cowboys are not going to get a running back because the Cowboys refuse to make adjustments. It's just not something they do. They're probably never going to get a running back. Jerry Jones doesn't care. He doesn't want to win. And you can tell I'm a bitter Cowboys fan. I just don't I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we didn't go after a running back in the offseason. We could have signed Saquon. We could have kept Tony Pollard. We could have gotten Derrick Henry. We could have gotten all kinds of guys, and we decided to get absolutely no one. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't liked the video already, make sure to hit that like button. Dowdle and Zeke are not the answer. I knew that Dowdle and Zeke weren't going to be the answer. I mean, we knew coming into the season that this wasn't a real backfield. I wasn't even remotely thinking that the Cowboys backfield would do anything. I don't like it. I don't like the Cowboys backfield. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with your fantasy football questions for week 4 or week 3 still technically of the fantasy football season. We are previewing Monday Night Football. Ask away with your lineup questions or your betting questions for tonight's games. And I am not going to take you all the way up to kickoff, but we're going to at least try to get a little bit close. So only trade Kyren for top 5 wide receivers. Absolutely. If you're going to be trading Kyren Williams, especially coming off the performance that he just had, and considering the fact that he's going to probably go nuclear while Puka's out, you got to get somebody like CeeDee Lamb. But if you can trade Kyren for CeeDee Lamb, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You're getting a wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb that can still and probably still will be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. I mean, he is going to be a wide receiver that draws 10-plus targets most weeks. That target share is not that common among too many wide receivers right now. I mean, we got guys like Rashee Rice and Amon-Ra St. Brown coming out and getting that kind of consistent target share. But CeeDee Lamb will still probably be one of the most targeted wide receivers in the league. Playing in an offense that still should bounce back and be pretty good. And Dak does throw for a lot of passing yards. So, yes, I would trade Kyren for CeeDee. Who do you think goes off in the Buffalo game? I don't know, man. I don't know that this is necessarily going to be a game where a whole lot of people go off. I'm more excited about the Cincinnati and Washington game as far as people going off. As far as who goes off in the Buffalo game, look for Josh Allen to have a massive bounce back week. Thoughts on Zeke? Here's my thoughts on Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott used to be really damn good, but he's used up. I mean, the dude just doesn't have any tread left on the tires. He's old. He's got damn near 2,000 career carries. He's carried the ball way too many times to still be a viable fantasy running back. Would you trade Puka for London? Need help at wide receiver. Smith injured. Waddle not performing. I don't think I can sit on Puka. Team is solid. If your team, what's your record, Vic? Your record is really important here. I need to know what your record is right now. Zeke, too old and slow. Way too old and slow. Zeke, Mr. 2 yards per carry. Ezekiel Elliott. I got to get rid of him. Oh, you're 3-0? Well, see, here's the thing, Vic. You're 3-0 right now. So, you can afford to hold Puka until he comes back, probably. With that being said, dude, I don't know. I'm just not that big on Drake London. I know that he's been a little bit better over the past 2 weeks, but I don't think that Drake London is going to be the player that everybody thought he would. That everybody thought he was. So let me put it this way. If Puka were coming back right now, and you were just looking at 2 players for the rest of the season, I so prefer Puka Nacua over Drake London. And the ceiling that he has when he comes back is so much higher than what Drake London could ever do in the Falcons offense. That's the problem. And you're 3-0. If you were 1-2 or 0-3, I would say go ahead and smash that trade because you're in win now mode, but you're not in win now mode. You're 3-0. You have a good team, could start 4-0. You can afford to hold Puka. So I'm actually not going to be trading Puka Nacua for Drake London in this situation. I think considering the fact that you're 3-0, even if you're 2-1, well, are you 3-0 or 2-1? What are you? So if you're 2-1, you have a winning record. I would still hold Puka Nacua. I just can't do it. I think that he gives you league winning upside when he comes back to the lineup. Depends on Chase today. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Keep Puka for the fantasy playoffs. I mean, you're 3-0. Like, worst case scenario, you're 2-1. You still got a winning record. I would hold on to who I think is a way better fantasy option in Puka Nacua. I just don't think that Drake London gives you that much upside, and Puka has nuclear upside when he comes back. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Keep these comments rolling. Let's keep this comment section going, and I'm going to get as close as possible to taking you guys up to kickoff. Leggett, a good buy low with Dalton at quarterback and Thielen out. Trade for him. Leggett, a good buy low with Dalton at quarterback and Thielen out. Trade for I don't know, man. Like, I understand that, like, Xavier Leggett, he's a big dude. He runs fast. The offense as a whole looked a whole lot better with Andy Dalton. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to trade a running back such as Ford for Xavier Leggett. I think that's a little bit too much of a reach at the moment. Saquon has almost 100 points already. Just insane, man. Saquon's absolutely going nuclear. I made a video in the offseason comparing Saquon Barkley to Bijan Robinson, and I was doing these player comps all offseason, and I was talking about, do we want Saquon, do we want Bijan? I was comparing players that were going at similar ADP points, and I was telling everybody, I lean Saquon Barkley. I lean Saquon Barkley over Bijan Robinson. I lean Saquon Barkley over Jonathan Taylor. Why were people doubting him? Just because he hasn't been relevant lately. People, they have very short memories in fantasy. People that play fantasy have very short memories, and they've seen that in recent times, Saquon Barkley just hasn't been that good, but none of it was his fault. The dude was running behind a terrible offensive line. He was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. He had Daniel Jones as his quarterback. He was playing in an awful system. You can't blame any of that on Saquon Barkley, and now he's running behind by far and away a better offensive line than he's ever had, and now we're seeing what Saquon Barkley can do. This is what Saquon Barkley was always supposed to be when he came into the league, right? And it's what Bijan Robinson could be if he was in the right situation, but Bijan isn't getting fed enough. He's not getting those 20-plus carry games like he's supposed to. I just looked at it. He's going to be an elite O-line. He's going to feast. Yeah, Saquon Barkley is going to absolutely go nuclear. If he was a running back one in fantasy, wouldn't be remotely surprised. In fact, right now, I think a lot of people probably think Saquon's going to be the running back one. I mean, right now, I believe he's a running back two right behind Alvin Kamara, and they're really damn close after this past week. Allgeier is still stealing snaps, bro. I don't get it. The Falcons coaching staff just has a serious problem with Bijan. It doesn't matter if it was Arthur Smith. It just doesn't matter who it is. They don't want to feed Bijan the way they're supposed to. This dude should be getting 28, 30 carries a game. He should have a prime Derrick Henry-like workload. He's got the build for it. He's got the talent for it, but they don't want to do it. I understand they want to keep him healthy and everything like that, but if you really want to win, and the Falcons are 1-2. They need to be in win now mode. You need to cut Bijan loose, and they're not doing it. What to do with Pittman? Anthony Richardson, terrible at quarterback. Nobody wants him. He is non-startable now. I wouldn't say that Anthony Richardson is non-startable now. From a real-life perspective, I don't like Anthony Richardson. I think he sucks. I think that while he has all the arm strength in the world, he doesn't have arm talent. He's not accurate with the football, but he does provide you some pretty serious rushing upside. That being said, we are going to temper our expectations with Anthony Richardson, and I don't think as highly of him as I did going into the season. But with that being said, I don't want to say that he's not startable because all it takes is one spike week with multiple rushing touchdowns, which he could easily get, and everyone's going to be back on the Anthony Richardson hype train. Let myself, dude, just offered me Diggs for Kyron, bro. How disrespectful is that? That dude's trying to rip you off. That's absolutely ridiculous. He's offering you somebody who, like, it's only because Diggs had 12 targets this past week, so people are trying to sell high on Diggs right now. What to do with Pittman? You can't do anything with Pittman. I mean, like, you have to ask yourself this, Vic: who is going to accept Michael Pittman in a trade right now? Probably nobody. So, like, I would drop him to the bench. I'm not starting him on a weekly basis. I don't want to say that he's droppable yet. He's still a good depth piece for your bench. And as far as trying to sell him in the trade market, you just can't do it right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't liked the video already, like the video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, guys. I'm doing my running back and wide receiver rankings every single week on this channel, doing it live every Thursday and Friday. I'm doing my running back and wide receiver rankings via live stream. Yeah, man, I think the AR5 hype has sailed for me. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit disappointing. And what's crazy is he had a big week one. So, they're very recency bias like, right? He's been bad lately, so people don't want to start him going forward. But I totally get it in terms of Anthony Richardson because the dude just doesn't have the arm accuracy to play in the NFL. Now, obviously, this dude, given his physical tools, given his arm strength and rushing upside, if he was ever able to start throwing the ball a little bit more accurately, he could obviously be the biggest cheat code in fantasy at the quarterback position. But I just don't think he's ever going to be that guy. I don't think he's that good of a real life quarterback. And he might not be starting forever if he doesn't start to produce because he has been absolutely terrible. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like the video, ask as many questions as you want here in the comment section. Super chats are appreciated. It is the lifeblood of a YouTube channel and the lifeblood of a live stream. So if you enjoy my live streams, make sure to super chat, make sure to like the video, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Help my channel grow, help it get bigger. Drop your comments in the comment section. We're talking about week 3 fantasy football. Doubleheader on Monday night. This is going to be fun. What bets do you guys have tonight? What bets do you have questions about? Ask me anything betting related or fantasy related. Hit me up here in the comments section, and I will do my best to help you get your best lineup on the field. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. I'm going to be doing this all season long. And yeah, keep blowing up the comment section so we can keep this rolling. Appreciate you guys. File on in, everybody. Ask away. Fantasy football questions. Yeah, sorry, Vic, that I can't tell you to do anything better with Pittman. I don't know. Like, there's just nothing you can do with him. Nobody wants Michael Pittman. I don't know. It's tough. Now, it's weird, Andre, because, like, I say to do Kyren for CeeDee Lamb, and then I say Kyren, and then you say Kyren for Jefferson, and I'm a little bit more hesitant when Jefferson has been the way better wide receiver. But when you look at it from a season-long standpoint, I just think CeeDee Lamb is going to get more targets. Kyren for Jefferson, though, I can't in good conscience tell you that that's a bad trade right now because Justin Jefferson has been elite. He's shown to be quarterback proof his entire career. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. The dude produces year in and year out, week in and week out, gives you a great weekly floor and a weekly ceiling. So I wouldn't mind trading Kyren for Justin Jefferson. No, if you have the combination of Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that could help you bounce back from 0-3. Should I try to get 2 players for Kyren right now? Certainly possible. I mean, you could take the gamble right now of like trying to offer Kyren for Jefferson in another small piece. Stevenson, let's talk about him and Patriots offense in general. I don't want to put too much stock into this past week for the Patriots. I mean, you look at the matchup with the Jets, it was a tough matchup. Now, obviously, Jordan Mason ran all over the Jets, but that was week 1. Week 1's always a little bit fluky. The run defense there for the Jets is just really damn good. If you look at this past game, Stevenson only had 6 carries. In the 2 previous games, he had 20-plus carries. So the opportunity to share is there for Stevenson. It just wasn't there last game. I don't think we're going to be doing anything other than Ramondre Stevenson, other than maybe downgrading him to a flex option. Javonte Williams, done. Droppable. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the Broncos offense is so freaking bad, and it's a split opportunity share with Jaleel McLaughlin. It's not Javonte Williams' backfield all alone anymore, and it's in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, despite the fact that they actually put some points on the board this past week. The Denver offense, it's not good. It's an absolute joke. There's really nobody in the offense that's startable, and I don't think you're going to be plugging Javonte Williams into your lineup at any point. So we're probably going to be dropping Javonte Williams and really not worrying about it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's see this comment section fill up. Rattle off your fantasy questions. Ask as many fantasy questions as you want. I'm implementing a new system, guys, for how I answer my questions on my channel. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm answering every question in order. I try to get around to everybody. I can't necessarily always do that. Sometimes I miss questions. I'm sorry if I do, but I just want to give people thorough answers. And if you want the most thorough answer possible, and if you want to support the channel, make sure to drop a super chat. I haven't got one yet. We're 30 minutes in. A super chat would go a long way to help the channel. So please go ahead and consider doing that. And most importantly, more than anything, if you're in here and you haven't liked the video yet or subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you're not missing out on my weekly rankings and other content. Worried about Richardson. Will he start running again? I mean, you've got to figure that he will, right? I mean, like, considering the upside that he has with rushing the football and considering that he has the upside to be the most dangerous rushing quarterback in the league, you got to figure they cut him loose at some point. And If I was the coaching staff, I would just be telling him to run the ball 12 or 13 damn times a game, because if he gets hurt, whatever, he probably is just going to suck anyway. So you're not really worried about him getting hurt. So just cut him loose and try to use him as a freaking running back and just run with a full head of steam and try to dominate that way. I don't know. If T. Higgins has a bad game tonight, my team is absolutely screwed. So if T. Higgins has a bad game tonight, Andre, does that mean you go to 0-3 in that team, or what's going on with that? Cameron Christensen, good to see you in here, man. Haven't seen you before. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're subscribed. If not, make sure to sub to the channel. Got Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Gibbs, Richardson, ETN, Akers, Chase, Nico Collins, Waddle, Cooper, and McBride. 1 and 2. Do I hold or panic? Okay, Stroud is fine. He's going to bounce back. I wouldn't worry about it. Jaden Daniels, great backup quarterback. You got Gibbs, Ramondre. That's fine. I'm totally fine with those running backs. ETN, Akers, Chase, Nico Collins. Honestly, bro, I think you have a good team for 1 and 2. In fact, if I was rating this team on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's like a 7.9, with a 5 being an average team. So despite the fact that you have a 1 and 2 record, I'm guessing that's just based on matchups, or maybe your players have underperformed just a little bit. Maybe Ramondre screwed you this past week, giving up the goose egg. But if you were to do one thing to make this team better, you do need probably a more elite running back one. I mean, Gibbs being your best running back, considering the fact that he's underperformed so far, and Ramondre is your running back two, is a little bit weak at the running back position. I still like your wide receivers with Nico Collins and Jamar Chase. I think you're very good there. I think what you do is you're going to sell high on I don't know. Actually, there's nobody I really like selling high on in your lineup right now, but I would try to execute some trade where you get a more elite running back one for your roster. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So glad. Welcome into Crushing Fantasy Football, the live stream edition. We are going to be taking you up to close to kickoff today. So ask away with your fantasy football questions. Let's keep this live stream rolling. Then on Dave, what up, Maine? James Cook and Zach Moss need 30 points PPR format. I mean, good luck. I mean, it can certainly happen. I mean, like, if you look at this situation, 30 points in a PPR format from both those players combined, I'd say you have about a 35 to 40% chance of that hitting. It's not too outside the realm of possibility for that to happen. Amari Cooper had a huge game, but still not easy to trade. Look, if you look at Amari Cooper, the dude came out and had 12 targets. He hasn't had a week less where he hasn't had a week yet where he's had less than 8 targets. The target share in his offense is very healthy, and I tell people this all the time. This is one of the top 10 still most talented wide receivers in the league. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Amari Cooper is a very good wide receiver. The main struggles in the offense have been because Deshaun Watson's arm accuracy just hasn't been what we've wanted it to be, what we've expected it to be. I was hyping up Deshaun Watson in the offseason, and now I'm starting to feel a little bit uneasy about it. But with Amari Cooper coming out in the Browns offense and getting damn near 10 targets a week, there's almost no way that he busts from a fantasy perspective, as he is by far and away the wide receiver one still in this offense. I agree. Wish you could move Ramondre for something, but no value, obviously. I wouldn't say that Ramondre has no value, but what you're going to need with Ramondre Stevenson is you're going to need him to come out and have another week where he gets, like 15 plus fantasy points. I don't want to say that he has no value. He has no perceived value, but that's just because he's coming off a bust week. I think right now he's best served as a hold. I really like the mirror behind you. It's quite imaginative. Yeah. I mean, I hung that up about a year ago. I like it, man. It goes well with the room. I need to get some more sports memorabilia and stuff hung up in the back here. I'm working on that. Try to sell high or ride it out, hoping they get another quarterback or Tua coming back soon. Oh, try to sell Hill. Dude, you know what's crazy? And this is what's so crazy about fantasy, and it illustrates how fluky and how fickle people are when it comes to fantasy assets. Tyreek Hill might be very hard to sell right now. And this is a wide receiver coming off back-to-back 1,700-yard seasons. He had a massive week one. He would have had 2,000 freaking yards last year had he not gone down with that injury late in the season. And you've got a quarterback in Tua who will support him when he comes back. So I think we're going to be holding on to Tyreek Hill. He just has too much upside for when Tua comes back. And with that being said, I don't think people are going to be giving up what you deserve to get for Tyreek Hill right now. So I think he's best as a hold. Then on Dave. And I have Richardson at quarterback. Who would you pick up on waivers to support an otherwise great team? LOL. You have Richard David. I don't know, man. To come out and just say that I think that there's a whole lot of waiver wire quarterbacks that are better than Anthony Richardson right now, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. I mean, I don't know if Jared Goff is on waivers. He's always a quarterback that's going to give you a steady floor, despite the fact that he's been very disappointing as a whole this season. He hasn't accumulated as much fantasy points as we want. I still think Jared Goff gives you a good floor on a weekly basis, but Anthony Richardson gives you a much higher weekly ceiling. Yeah, Geno's definitely a possibility. Nobody wants Hill or Waddle now. Nobody. Yeah, they really don't. I mean, it's crazy. You look at this Miami Dolphins offense, and nobody wants any piece of it. And it's amazing what a quarterback can do for a football team and for a fantasy football asset. And it just shows the importance of having a truly elite quarterback, or at least a decent quarterback to sling you the rock. Obviously, Skylar Thompson is not him, and we need Tua back for the sake of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, because right now these guys are looking like absolutely worthless fantasy assets until he comes back. I appreciate you guys. Keep rolling. Keep these comments rolling in. I'm going to do my best to answer everyone in the comment section. Best way to skip the line is to super chat. If you want to help support my channel, if you're enjoying these live streams, make sure to drop me a super chat. It's tremendously important to help keep the live stream going. And I am going to be answering as many football questions as I can today. We are taking you up to damn near close to kickoff. We've got the Bills kicking off in about an hour from now. I'm excited for the game. I know you guys are as well. If you're in this live stream and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop your fantasy football questions in the comments. I'm going to be answering as many fantasy football questions as I can in this live Q&A. I don't understand how Jacobs isn't getting in the end zone, bro. It's just fluky variance. I mean, like, look, it's very, very early in the season still. And when you look at his opportunity share and you look at how many points the team is scoring, this team is going to get Josh Jacobs in the end zone. The fact that he really hasn't been getting in the end zone is an absolute fluke. Josh Jacobs will bounce back as far as his touchdown upside, and I still think he's potentially going to be a top 5 running back in fantasy. I'm trying to get Hill. They are going to find another quarterback this year. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Miami Dolphins offense, they've absolutely got to find another quarterback. If they don't find another quarterback and they don't do it soon, they're going to be out of contention in the snap of a finger. So the Miami Dolphins have got to do something about their quarterback position. And when you look at Tyreek Hill and the talent profile, if the Dolphins can get an average or even a slightly under average NFL quarterback, just not like an absolute bum Skylar Thompson, Jimmy Garoppolo, piece of trash quarterback. If you don't have one of those guys and you just have a quarterback that's a 3 out of 10 in talent, you can support Tyreek Hill and he will give you decent fantasy upside. It's just that Skylar Thompson is not a real NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback, and the Miami Dolphins have got to do something about it. I need help finding a Jags player to bet. Andre, honestly, man, like, if you need help finding a Jags player to bet, I think the best player to bet on is nobody. J-Mo disappointed this week, but is he a good start next week? Oh, yeah, he's absolutely a good bet with Laporta out. With Laporta out. I mean, if you look at Jameson Williams, absolutely goes off in the first 2 weeks, has 11 targets and 9 targets, has 20 targets through the first 2 games, and it looks like he's going to be a pivotal piece of this offense. I'm not going to let 1 week deter us from Jameson Williams. I think that he's going to have a very good role in this offense, especially with Laporta possibly out for the game. How do you view on Jauan Jennings going forward? I have Debo on the bench. Should I try to package both of them right now? So, like, if you have Debo on the bench and you're considering sell, I wouldn't. I mean, like, look, Jauan Jennings obviously just had the best game he's going to ever have in his entire NFL career. He absolutely went off, 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. The dude went absolutely nuclear. If you're going to sell anybody off of your bench as far as your pass catchers, I would go ahead and keep Deebo Samuel for when he comes back, because Deebo Samuel is really the one in the offense that has the upside. And I would try to sell Jauan Jennings alone. I wouldn't package both of them together because you're just giving up way too much. Camden Christensen. I have a trade I'm thinking of offering. I would be sending Ramondre Ferguson after a decent week, and Cooper for Jacobs and Knox. Would essentially be Ramondre for Jacobs. Dude, I absolutely love that trade. I absolutely love that trade. If you can do that, you are absolutely killing the dude in this trade. So, I mean, if you look at Josh Jacobs, 32 carries in week 2. The dude has had fluky end zone fumbles, right? He's like fumbled in the end zone like multiple times. This dude is going to get in the end zone. He's going to net you a lot of fantasy points this year. He's a massive upgrade for Ramondre Stevenson, just given the inherent ceiling for being in the offense that he's in. So, yeah, you're going to be absolutely crushing this dude with that trade. Players like Henry, would you agree that the price drops every week regardless of performance? The owner is asking for 1 and I offer 2, but he insists the price is rising, which I don't agree with. Yeah, I mean, who is your tight end if you would trade Ferguson? Any tight end premium? Who is your tight end if you trade Ferguson? You're asking if I play in any tight end premium leagues? I don't know what you mean by that. He had Bowers, but I think the guy is low enough on Jacobs with Bijan to consider it. Yeah. Oh my God. And you have McBride. So that's the thing, is you're not even going to be starting Jake Ferguson if you have McBride. So, like, at most, McBride's going to be missing 1 week of play. Big freaking deal, right? If you can trade Ramondre and Jake Ferguson for Josh Jacobs, you are smashing this dude. You need to go do that right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. If I start to get some more super chats, I will definitely take you guys all the way up to kickoff. But I'm here to answer your fantasy football questions. I am doing my best to go down the line and answer the questions in the order they're received. So I'm here to do the Q&A, and I want to help you guys get your best lineup on the field for Monday Night Football tonight, the doubleheader. Let's get it. And if you guys are new to the channel and you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I am doing running back rankings every single week. I'm doing wide receiver rankings every single week. And I'm doing them via live stream. There are very few content creators out there that are doing running back and wide receiver rankings via live stream. So keep these comments rolling, guys. Keep them. I want to see this comment section filled up. Let's ask as many questions as possible. And I'm going to do my best to get around to everybody. I'm doing my rankings every single week. We're doing it live. I'm helping you get your best lineup on the field for week 3 of the fantasy football season. Drake London has been looking good the last 2 games. Sell high, or is this the norm as the season goes on? I would absolutely sell high on Drake London right now. I don't think that Drake London is going to continue to produce at that high of a level. I mean, like, it honestly looks like all the downfield targets are going to Darnell Mooney. So, like, the deep targets just haven't really been there for Drake London, and, like, they're not able to connect on the deep ball. So the big playability just isn't there for a wide receiver that's so big and fast, right? He has that elite combination of size and speed that you would think would create big playability, but they're not connecting on the deep ball. So, like, if it weren't for, like, that last second touchdown a couple of weeks ago, and then, like, to me, a little bit of a fluky performance this past week, I don't think that Drake London is going to be that great going forward. I would absolutely sell high on Drake London right now. Appreciate you guys rolling in. Ask away as many fantasy football questions as you can in the comments section. Blow it up, and let's keep this live stream rolling. What questions do we have about tonight's game? I'm here for the live Q&A. I didn't prepare any material for this live stream. I'm just here to answer fantasy football questions. This is strictly a live Q&A, so I'm here to answer your fantasy football questions for week 3 of the fantasy football season and week 4 of the fantasy football season. Let's fix your fantasy team. Let's navigate our way through these injuries. What questions do you have about injuries, guys? Let's navigate our way through these injuries, and let's get our best team on the field for tonight's game. Let's start 3-0 or at least 2-1. And if you're going to be 0-3 or 1-2, let's fix your team and make it better. If you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's incredibly important that in this live stream, I gain 10 subscribers. The only way that I can continue to live stream is if I gain 10 subscribers on every live stream that I post, and that's at the absolute minimum. So if you want to be a part of this channel, if you want to be a part of the movement, if you want to win your league this year, subscribe to this channel. I'm doing my running back and wide receiver rankings every single week. I'm live streaming upwards of 5 times a week now. I'm putting out at least 3 pre-recorded videos per week, helping you win your fantasy football league. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're in here and you haven't yet liked the video, make sure to like the video. And yeah, go ahead and keep this comment section rolling, guys. Blow up the chat. I want to see as many questions as possible in this chat. So go ahead and spam the chat and ask as many fantasy football questions as possibly come to mind. We got a few more of you rolling in. Good to see. Good to see. Ask away with your fantasy football questions for week 4 of the fantasy football season or for Monday night's game. I am previewing Monday night's game tonight, so I want to answer as many questions as possible regarding the 2 games tonight. What bets do you have on tonight's game? Do you think the Bengals are going to cover the spread against the Washington Commanders? Isn't it Bengals -6? I think we're going to be taking the Bengals -6 in this game for sure. Appreciate you guys. Hit me up with all your fantasy football questions. I'm right at least 5% of the time. So, no, I'm just playing. I do my best to be right and as accurate as possible. So, I'm going to give you guys the best answer possible to your questions. If you want a more thorough answer, make sure to super chat. I've been in here for about 49 minutes. Haven't gotten a super chat yet. In order to keep doing this live stream up to kickoff, I am going to need some super chats to fill up the comment section. Do you have any IDP leagues? Need some advice for week 4? I do not have any IDP leagues. I don't play in IDP leagues. I do appreciate the question, but that's just not really how I roll in fantasy. It's really the one fantasy format that I don't play in. I've got Bills -2.5, ETN, ADT over yards. Yeah, I mean, I like those. Those are definitely solid bets. Should I start Donald or Love next week? Should you start Donald or Love next week? Oh, you mean Darnold? I was confused for a second. Oh, you're definitely starting Jordan Love over Sam Darnold. I mean, I understand that this dude's coming back from an injury. I understand that the Minnesota offense has been, they've been vastly overperforming. I don't think that Sam Darnold gives you the same overall upside as Jordan Love, because Jordan Love is going to give you that rushing upside that Sam Darnold really doesn't have. Obviously, he's a little bit more mobile of a quarterback than people like to give him credit for, but Jordan Love gives you true rushing upside. And yeah, they're probably not going to be running him as much coming back from his injury, but the rushing upside is there, and he's just got more weapons in his offense. I think that at the end of the season, this question will look, and I'm not saying that it's a bad question. I'm just saying at the end of the season, when the fantasy points are totaled at the end of the season, this question will look like, what the hell? We were considering starting Darnold over Jordan Love. We're definitely going to be starting Jordan Love, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Full PPR Stevenson for Singletary straight up. Full PPR Stevenson for Singletary straight up. Absolutely not. I don't trust Devin Singletary enough to give up a back like Ramondre Stevenson that's going to be getting elite target share out of the backfield. I'm still not big on the Giants offense. I know that Malik Neighbors is giving them a little bit of a boost, but we are not going to be starting Singletary over Stevenson. No way. I took Jamar for 60 yards. What do you think? I think it smashes, bro. I think it smashes. I think he might have 160 yards tonight. I mean, the defense that he's going against is absolutely atrocious, and he's been off to a slow start. Like, we know what Ja'Marr Chase does. He is a low floor, high ceiling player that gives you massive spike weeks, especially given the right matchup. This is the right matchup. This is the spike week for Ja'Marr Chase. The dude's going to go off tonight, and if he had 160 yards receiving tonight, I would not be surprised. Appreciate the questions, everybody. Go ahead and ask away in the fantasy football question. 100 to win 221. I like it. I like it. Texas Punisher, how else are your teams doing? What other lineup questions do you have, my friend? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with as many fantasy football questions as you can possibly think of, and I'm going to get back to you and try to answer all of them. I'm answering these in order, guys. The best way to skip the line is to super chat. But that being said, I've answered about 85 to 90% of the comments in the comment section in this video. So I'm doing my best to get around to everybody. And I'm just basically answering these questions in the order that they are received. He offered me Aaron Jones and Diggs. Aaron Jones and Diggs for Kyren? That's a little bit more tempting. God, that's a lot more tempting. I mean, if you look at Aaron Jones, the dude has been hyper efficient like he always is. And like, he's not going to get phased out of his offense at any point. Whereas I think Kyren could get phased out of his offense when Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp come back. So I think I would take this trade. I think I would take Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs for Kyren Williams. Chat, let me know what y'all think. We need to make sure that Andre makes the right trade here. I personally would accept Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs for Kyren Williams. Some people might think that's crazy, but I am going to take that trade. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Ask away with your fantasy football questions. I'm doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week, guys. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, or I assure you are missing out. I am going to be doing these wide receiver and running back rankings every single week, previewing the Sunday games, previewing the Monday night football games, Thursday games. If you want to be part of these watch parties and part of these live streams before games, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm also doing pre-recorded videos every single week, at least 3 of them, making sure that you get your best lineup on the field. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. We got a few more you rolling in. Appreciate it. Good to see. Ask away. Is that a fleece? I don't think it's a fleece. It's a trade that I would actually have to sit and think about for a while, but I think you are winning the trade, like maybe something like 65-35, 60-40. It's definitely not a fleece. Kyren Williams is an absolute monster. but I think you're winning the trade by getting Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs. Appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream. Keep blowing up the comment section. Let's keep this rolling. We do need as many comments as possible in order to keep the video rolling. And so let's go ahead and ask away in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Ask away. Kyren Williams, T. Higgins, and Andrews for London and McBride. Kyren Williams, T. Higgins, and Andrews for London and McBride. That is a good question. Kyren Williams, T. Higgins, and Andrews for London and McBride. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be doing that. We need to hold on to Kyren Williams. I think the trade in which you receive Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs is a much better trade for you. So go back to this guy. Did he change the trade offer or something, Andre? Did he say that he wanted to do something different? Make sure to keep the comments rolling in, guys. I need as many comments as possible in order to continue this live stream up to game time. I will be taking you guys up to game time as long as you keep the comment section rolling and as long as I start to see some super chats. So make sure that you are asking as many questions as possible so we can keep this live stream going up to game time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're doing it big here this season. I'm going to be blowing this channel up this year, guys. I'm going to be absolutely blowing this channel up. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you have not already. And I'm going to potentially be taking you guys all the way up to kickoff as long as this comment section keeps rolling on. Yeah, Andre, I would make sure that you go ahead and get the Aaron Jones trade instead. Do I like the Bengals spread? Yes, Camden, I do like the Bengals spread. It's -6, right? Everybody let me know. Make sure I'm right on that. It's I think the Bengals are -6. With that being the case, I do like the Bengals spread, and I think that we should be betting on the Bengals. Vic Z in the house. Good to see you on here again, my man. If Jones and Diggs are not starting for you, am I keeping Williams? If Jones and Diggs are not starting for you, I'm keeping Williams. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're not good enough to be plugged into your starting lineup, you're not going to trade a starting player for a depth piece by any means. Andrews is single-handedly selling my team right now. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Andre. I'm just reading all of the offers I got. Jones and Diggs will have no value next year. If this is Dynasty, you need to consider that. I didn't know it was Dynasty. If this was Dynasty, no. God, no. Not if it's Dynasty. If it's redraft. Okay, yeah, it's redraft. Yeah. Dynasty, it completely changes the context of the question. Yeah, they'd be starting. Yeah, Texas Punisher. I think Pittman is a lost cause. I mean, if you look at the arm accuracy of Anthony Richardson, where would you put it? Where would you put Anthony Richardson among NFL starting quarterbacks as far as arm accuracy? Bottom 5, bottom 3, bottom 1, maybe? He might have the worst arm accuracy in the NFL. So while he could chuck the ball 70 yards downfield, he's just not an accurate passer. So it's absolutely ruining Michael Pittman. And going into the season, bro, I wasn't big on Michael Pittman. I was telling people to avoid him. But with that being said, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I mean, Michael Pittman looks like an absolute joke as far as a fantasy asset right now, and we really can't start him whatsoever. I do appreciate the question, Texas Punisher. Guys, let's keep this comment section rolling. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you can. Blow up this comment section so we can keep the live stream going. I'm doing my best to get around to everybody. If I accidentally skipped over your question, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best to answer as many comments as possible. The best way to skip the line, though, is to super chat. If you want to support the channel, super chat, and I will make sure to give you a much more thorough answer to your question, although I'm doing my best to answer everybody's question on here, and I do very much appreciate you guys tuning in. And let's get our best lineup on the field for Week 3 tonight, Monday Night Football. Let's freaking get it. Camden Christensen says -7 at the moment, still taking it. I'm still taking it too. I think that if you look at this game and you look at the defense that the Bengals are going against, the Bengals, are going to have a huge bounce back week at some point, right? So, when is it going to happen? It's probably going to happen this week, right? So, they're only going to be held dormant for so long. Jamar Chase is probably going to have 900 receiving yards, and I look for them to absolutely run over these boys tonight. I would definitely take Bengals -7. Yeah, Andre, bottom 5 for Anthony Richardson for sure. I definitely think that Anthony Richardson is a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL as far as real life talent and as far as arm accuracy. The dude just looks absolutely terrible on a weekly basis. Keep these comments rolling in, guys. Ask me as many fantasy football questions as you possibly can so we can keep this live stream going. We're not too far from getting up to game time now. I've been on here for almost an hour. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You're going to be missing out on my content if you don't. I'm doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week via live stream, so make sure that you're not missing out on this, guys. The dude can't hit a wide open slant. Dude's terrible. I 100% agree. Rams House 99, never seen you before. Welcome into the channel, man. Thank you very much for tuning into the video, and I hope you are subscribed. If not, I will earn your subscribe at some point in this video, hopefully. Dynasty, have PPR, SF start, 10-12 team. I'm a contender. Won the league last year. Should I trade a late first and Javonte for Brian Robinson and a late third? Should you trade a late first and Javonte for Brian Robinson and a late third? If you're a contender, I don't mind this deal. I mean, obviously, you're losing a tremendous amount of draft capital, but if you're a savvy enough drafter in your dynasty formats, you can still get some of those studs in round 3. So with that being said, and considering the fact that Javonte Williams is basically an absolute zero for me, if you're a contender, I am going to go ahead and take the Brian Robinson side of this trade and try to go ahead and win my championship this year. Yeah, that's what I would take the Brian Robinson side of the trade. Absolutely. Vic Z, what is up, my man? AR can't see well. I'm throwing more accurately, but I can't throw beyond 5 yards. I can throw a football myself about 50 yards. But when it comes to arm accuracy in the NFL, it's just so incredibly hard to play at that level because the defenders are just so freaking fast, right? They're jumping these routes and they're seeing things before they happen. These cornerbacks are freaking elite ball hawks. They're the best in the world at it. It's so damn hard to play a quarterback at the NFL level. And Anthony Richardson, while having the athletic intangibles, he just isn't good enough. CMC seeing a specialist. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I was saying going into the season, or not going into the season, but after Christian McCaffrey missed the first 2 weeks, I don't think he's going to see the field this year. I mean, when you're dealing with Achilles tendonitis, this is one of the most chronic injuries that you can possibly have in football because, well, one, it's your Achilles, it's your explosion muscle. 2, it's tendonitis. It's something that's lingering. It's not just something that goes away after not having, contact on it for a few weeks. Right? It's not like a sprain where it's just going to heal 100%. Tendonitis is one of the most lingering freaking issues. It's a very serious problem, and he has multiple injuries to his lower bodies. Who can I get for CMC? Bro, if you're going to trade CMC, you need to do it now because his value is plummeting every single week that he doesn't play. And every single week that we hear another report, oh, Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for another 2 weeks, his value plummets that much more. So I don't think that we can see a whole lot of value going forward in CMC unless we trade him right now. As far as what you can get for CMC, you're probably getting a guy that was drafted around like 6 or 7, bro. Frizzle in the house, my man. Good to see you, man. Frizzle, blow up the comment section. Ask away with your fantasy football questions, and let's keep this live stream rolling. I am going to be doing my best to take you guys up to kickoff. I'm doing my best to answer everybody's fantasy football question. I've answered about 85 to 90% of the fantasy football questions that have been asked for me so far. So you guys, do me a favor. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I want to gain at least 10 subscribers off every live stream so I can continue to pursue this channel and continue to provide content on a consistent weekly basis. I truly appreciate your energetic attitude. Thank you for taking the time. Yeah, Big Z, I got you, man. I mean, it's easy for me to do this because I love fantasy football, right? Like, so it's not like I have to get on here and like snort some blow and like get myself all excited and like freaking let's go, right? Like I'm naturally excited about fantasy football, right? So like this is just the way that I talk about football in general. So all I'm really doing is getting on a computer and talking the way I normally talk about fantasy. So I really do enjoy doing this. Thank you, my man. Like Coleman's yards tonight. What is the over-under on Coleman's yards? I haven't looked at it yet, so you're definitely going to have to drop the number for me. Devontae Smith getting concussion hurt my team. Now I'm really screwed at wide receiver being in a 14 team. See, that's what's so brutal about playing in 14 team leagues is like when you have a massive injury, it's just absolutely brutal for your squad. So it just absolutely kind of sucks. 37.5. Oh my God. Yeah. I it's so hard, right? Because he didn't get any targets last week, but that's very much why it's so low. I like going over on Coleman's yards tonight, although this is very, very close. I feel like I'm kind of forcing the bet here. I don't really think that's a bet I necessarily am excited about taking. But if you for sure want to bet on the yardage for Coleman, I am going to be taking the over if I'm absolutely forced to. But again, I feel like I'm forcing a bet here, which I don't like to do. I only like to do it when it's a smash. Brian Thomas Jr. is 42.5. I don't know, man. Brian Thomas Jr., while he's good, is still big play dependent at the end of the day. And 42.5, it's a complete coin flip. So I'm not that big on that one either. If I were to bet on that, I would bet the under, but I just don't like forcing a bet there either. I feel like both of those bets are kind of forced bets. So I'm not going to be doing it. Appreciate you guys tuning into the video. I'm going to keep this rolling, but we got to keep the comment section going. Keep commenting on the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're in here and if you're watching my content all the time and you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Doing my running back and wide receiver rankings every single week via live stream, making sure that I give you my must-start players, my must-start defenses. How many fantasy content creators give you must-start defenses? I'm going to be doing that every single week this year. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and don't miss out on this cutting-edge content. I am going to be blowing this channel up this year, so make sure you subscribe. Stop missing out. And Josh Allen for 250. Over. I mean, you think that how many Josh Allen is very rarely held back in multiple weeks. I think that the Jaguars will actually put some points on the board this game because just due to natural regression, their offense is going to have to start doing something at some point, right? So look for Trevor Lawrence to have a little bit of a bounce back game that could create an environment and where the Bills actually need to pass. I think this game will be higher scoring than people expect. So I like for Josh Allen to go over 250, but I'm just not sure which pass catcher it's going to be to. I kind of like Dalton Kincaid tonight. Let me know the over under on Dalton Kincaid's passing yards. Bengals or Bills defense? So Emily, I guess you're forced to start. I guess we're gonna be going with the Bills here. We're gonna be going with the Bills. Which props do you like? Not Bengals Commanders. To be honest with you, I haven't looked into them too much today. You're gonna have to let me know which ones you're considering, and then I will give you my take on them. We got a few more you rolling on in. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning into the channel. I'm gonna keep doing this all the way up to maybe potentially kickoff, as long as we keep the comment section rolling. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe. You're going to be missing out on cutting-edge content if you don't. I'm doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week. What kind of package would you look for in a Jauan Jennings-Kyren deal? My man, after this week that they both just had, if you are going to be selling Jauan Jennings and Kyren Williams, you better get a freaking absolute monster. And right now, it's hard to sell Kyren straight up, considering the fact that as long as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are not on the field, well, Kyron's going to be going off, at least in the interim, while those guys are not on the field. And Jauan Jennings, as long as Debo isn't on the field, obviously has some pretty freaking insane fantasy upside. That being said, I think Jauan Jennings is a great sell high right now. I still think that this is going to be the best wide receiver performance he will ever have in a given week in his fantasy career, because it's rare for even an A.J. Brown or a J.J. to have a game that big. That is absolutely insane. Kincaid's yards are 35.5. Andre, you need to smash that over. Dead on Dave, Ayuk, DK. Yeah, definitely could consider it. Bro, Ayuk looks awful. See, this is what happens when players come out and miss training camp. If you miss training camp, you're typically not going to perform. It's happened so far with Ja'Marr Chase, right? Like it happened with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb held out for a long time. See, if you look at every single player, look at the three big name players that held out of training camp and didn't show up till the last second. All three of them, Brandon Ayuk, Ja'Marr Chase, and CeeDee Lamb, are all underperforming. When you don't show up for training camp and you expect to play the hardest game on the world on the highest level, you're not going to perform. Natural talent can only do so much for you in the NFL. You've got to practice. And these teams, they weren't at practice. Or sorry, these players, they weren't at practice. So go figure, they're off to a slow start. Is Zach Moss worth picking up? I mean, I think he's a viable option. I mean, what you have in Zach Moss is you have a player in an offense that I think will absolutely bounce back. I mean, if you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, I still think they're going to be one of the better offenses in the NFL, especially with T. Higgins getting back on the field. This should be a good NFL offense. And so I like Zach Moss. He's definitely a fine pickup. How do we feel about Scary Terry for over 4.5 catches? 12 targets in 2 games, and hopefully we'll be losing a bunch of the game. That's very, very close. This is yet another forced bet. I feel like it's a literal coin flip. I would probably bet the under on Terry McLaurin 4.5 catches. But, yeah, it's really, really close here, and I don't want to make that bet because I think it's a little bit too close. I took Allen for 250 plus, good. Jamar for 100 plus, Kincaid for 35, and ETN to rush for 40. Thoughts? I don't like doing four-way parlays just because there's so many variables involved, but I don't mind. I don't mind the three-way parlays. Now, when you look at Josh Allen, Jamar Chase, and Kincaid, I think they're all smash plays. And Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid obviously correlate together because if Dalton Kincaid has a big night, odds are Josh Allen is going to come right along with them. So I do like this bet. Should I trade Hurts and Deontay for Lamar? Hurts and Deontay for Lamar. Absolutely not. I am not going to be trading Jalen Hurts for Lamar Jackson. To be honest with you, bro, I wouldn't even trade Jamar. I can't talk right now. I wouldn't trade Jalen Hurts for Lamar Jackson straight up. So there's no way in hell I could tell you to give up Hurts and another piece for Lamar Jackson. I do appreciate your question, Terrell. It's good to see you in here, man. I hope you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Building an 8-leg parlay for tonight. Do you have one lock for each game? No, I really don't. I mean, to be honest with you, man, like I haven't placed any bets myself tonight because a lot of the lines that I liked on tonight's game were not really like, they just weren't something. I just didn't see a whole lot of options that I really liked. So I didn't place any bets for tonight's game. Now, if you want to drop like whichever bet you're considering, I'll tell you which side of the bet I'm on and whether I think it's a good bet. So if you want to get like really specific, I can answer for you. Calvin Austin, Hopkins, Lazard, Jalen Tolbert. Who's the best option off waiver? Calvin Austin, Hopkins, Lazard. Probably Hopkins, right? I mean, if you look at this offense, like they need a spark, right? Like they need somebody to come out and start doing something. Hopkins, obviously, if he wasn't older, is a truly elite wide receiver. One, the only reason that people aren't as big on DeAndre Hopkins is one, he's in a bad offense. Two, he might not be the wide receiver one. And three, the dude is just old. But if you look at DeAndre Hopkins, the dude still has very good route running abilities, very good hands, and though he's not as explosive as he was in his prime, still has some fantasy upside. So we're going to be taking Hopkins. I have Calvin Ridley, but I'm really close to just pulling the plug on Ridley. Ridley's tough, man, because like he's big play dependent, right? I mean, like you look at this offense and like everything was like, oh, they're going to be slinging the ball all season long. Well, the offense sucks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's supposed to be a gunslinging offense. Calvin Ridley's not getting double-digit targets in these games, and he seems to be completely and totally big play dependent. So I totally understand wanting to pull the plug on Calvin Ridley. I think he was a good sell high after last week, and I'm just not really that big on him going forward. Appreciate you guys. Let's keep this comment section rolling. I need a lot more comments. Blow up the comment section. Ask me as many as possible so we can keep this stream rolling. And make sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I need to gain at least 10 subscribers off every video I post in order to make sure that I can continue to do these live streams. So if you like my content and you're watching all the time, and for whatever reason yet you haven't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And let's go ahead and blow up this comment section. Ask me as many fantasy football questions as you possibly can. I'm doing my best to take you guys up to kickoff. Also, guys, if you could super chat, I've been in here for a little bit over an hour. I haven't gotten my first one yet. A super chat would be very beneficial to continuing to do the live stream all the way up to kickoff. And if you wanted to go ahead and keep asking fantasy football questions, go ahead and do that. I'm answering your questions for week 3 and week 4. Do I hold Ridley and pick up Hopkins? Yeah, I mean, that's a fine play. It's just like, actually, let me reverse course. I am going to say no. I don't like holding two receivers in an offense that isn't efficient. I mean, this is a bad offense. So even having one of these players rostered, they probably don't give you that much upside. And you're talking about having two of them rostered. So I really don't think that you're going to hold Ridley and pick up Hopkins and hold two players on your team and like one of the worst, if not the worst offenses in the NFL. Kincaid needs to go off tonight. Kincaid better freaking go off tonight. If Kincaid does not have a big game tonight in this matchup, we are going to slightly become a little bit more concerned on Dalton Kincaid. With that being said, I think tonight is the night that Dalton Kincaid bounces back. That's why I told Andre to go ahead and take the over on the 37 and a half receiving yards for Dalton Kincaid. Joe Egan in the house. What's up, my man? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in here before. I hope that you are subscribed to the channel. I do appreciate your question. And hopefully, if you're not subscribed, I can earn your subscribe by the end of this video. Is CD going to wake up and eat? Can Dak get him the ball? Yeah, I think he's going to. I mean, if you look at CeeDee Lamb last season, he started this exact same way. The targets weren't there yet. They weren't force-feeding him yet like they were later on in the season. And if you look at CeeDee Lamb, obviously he's got all the talent in the world. Obviously, he's got a quarterback that is going to probably be tops in the league as far as passing yards because the Cowboys just tend to play in so many high-scoring games. Despite the fact that they're supposed to have a good defense, I think their defense has been exposed this year, and we've seen that they're really not that good. They're probably going to be involved in a lot of shootouts, meaning lots of passing yardage for Dak, lots of passing yardage for CeeDee Lamb. And last season, if you sold CeeDee Lamb early in the season, you regretted it because he ended up being the wide receiver one. And I know that this is a whole new season, but I think he will wake up and eat. I think we're going to see a lot of double-digit target games. I think we're going to see 100-plus yard receiving games from CeeDee Lamb. And I think he's one of the best buy lows in fantasy right now. So, Joe Egan, I do appreciate your question. I hope I gave you a good answer. And always keep in mind that, man, if you want an even more thorough answer and you want to skip the line, just drop a super chat and, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, man. It goes a long way to help, and I very much appreciate you, my friend. Calvin Austin looked like the Steelers wide receiver too, and Jalen Tolbert also looked like he won the wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, I guess Brandon Cooks is just kind of getting aged out of this offense. Like, somebody asked me a question earlier if I think it was Andre, if I should drop Brandon Cooks for KaVontae Turpin. I didn't want to say so for Turpin, but when it comes to Jalen Tolbert, it definitely looks like he's breaking out and being the wide receiver two in the offense. I mean, in all the high leverage situations, when CeeDee Lamb was being double teamed, they were looking for Tolbert. So it's definitely one of those things, man. Like, it very much could be the case. Calvin Austin looked like the Steelers wide receiver too. I don't know. To me, we're going to need to see more from Calvin Austin. I mean, obviously he had 5 targets this past week to George Pickens, 7 targets. It was kind of cool to see Calvin Austin get an increased target share, but I don't know that he's necessarily going to be a wide receiver that gives you any sort of consistent target share this season. And it's, regardless, it's hard to trust the Pittsburgh offense. So even if he looks like the wide receiver two in Pittsburgh, does he really hold that much fantasy value? I don't really think so. Rave in the house. What's up, my man? One of my newest subscribers and watchers of the live stream. It's good to have you in here, man. Up by 34. I have Brian Robinson, and my opponent has Josh Allen and Evan McPherson. Am I winning this? I think you're going to win. I don't want to say for sure, but I would give you like an 85 to 90% chance of winning your matchup here, bro. It looks like it's pretty promising. I picked up Xavier Legette. Moving forward to see what he can do. Now with a decent quarterback, I'm digging him. Like if you were to pick this guy up off the waiver wire, he's certainly a good pick. I mean, if you look at all the wide receivers in the offense, you've got a 97-year-old Adam Thielen. You've got a non-talented and very, very overhyped Deontay Johnson. There's always the outside chance that Legette just ends up being the alpha in the offense. I mean, he is the biggest, fastest, most athletic wide receiver on the team. And Andy Dalton seems to be giving this offense a massive upgrade. One of my worst takes on the week, this past week, was telling people to start the Raiders defense against Carolina. There were some people that pushed back and said, hey, Carolina's going to do well this week. I didn't buy it, and boy, was I wrong, because Andy Dalton definitely gave this offense a boost. Appreciate you guys. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. Blow up the chat, and we're getting pretty darn close to kickoff. So keep asking away with all of your fantasy football questions, and let's keep this rolling. Thoughts on Sam Laporta? I think Sam Laporta is going to be fine. I mean, like, you've got a guy who was the tight end 1 in fantasy last year. He's in what's projected to be a top 5 overall offense. And I don't know. It's just kind of goofy so far with the lack of production for Sam Laporta. I think he's definitely one of my biggest bounce back candidates at like any position. All right, guys, go ahead and keep asking away with the fantasy football questions. Best way to skip the line is to super chat. However, I am doing my best to go through and just answer these questions in order. That way I am implementing the most fair system when it comes to like answering y'all's questions, because like I don't want to be skipping around and everything like that. So I'm just answering the questions in the order that they are received. So I'm doing my best to do that. If you are a supporter of the channel and you enjoy my work, please consider super chatting, as it goes a tremendous way to help the live streams, and it can be very beneficial for me and help me continue to do these live streams on a consistent basis. Terrell T, can you rate my team? Go ahead, my friend. Drop it in the comments, and I will give you a brutally honest rating. And I love doing these team ratings. And just so you understand my rating scale, when I'm rating your fantasy team, a 5 out of 10 is an average team. So I'm going to be brutally honest. And if I say your team's a 6, then it's a slightly above average team. Terrell T, can you rate my team? I did earlier. You did earlier what? Rate this team. Rate this team. Yeah, go ahead, Rafe. Go ahead and drop your team in the comments, and I will give you my most accurate rating. Appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream. Dead on Dave. Oh my God, I've been offered Kincaid, AJ Brown, and Mixon for Godwin, Bowers, and Kyron. Wait. You've been offered Kincaid, AJ Brown, and Mixon for Godwin. My God, that's a hard trade. There is just so much firepower in this trade, bro. Oh my gosh. I got to come out and first say that this is by far and away the most difficult trade question that I've been asked on this live stream so far. When you have Kincaid, you have a tight end that we're going to need to see bounce back, whereas Bowers has already produced. Godwin is the wide receiver 3 overall in fantasy right now. And Kyron Williams is just an absolute monster. However, AJ Brown is probably the best overall player in this trade. I still think that Kincaid's going to bounce back massively, and Mixon obviously has some pretty serious upside when he's actually healthy. Man, that's incredibly close. To be honest, Dead on Dave, I'm going to need some time to think about that one. Dak Prescott, hit me with it later, Dead on Dave, a little bit later in the live stream. Just go ahead and hit me with it, and maybe I'll have my mind made up by then. Dak, Saquon. You have the best running back in fantasy in Saquon, I believe. Brian Robinson. Swift is trash. Brooks, definitely a good depth piece, especially considering that Carolina's offense has bounced back a little bit. Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Rice. You've got good receivers. Devontae Smith, DeAndre Hopkins, Laporta, Fryman. This was a very solid team. Even for a 10-man PPR league, I rate it well above average. Probably somewhere around the upper sevens, like a 7.8. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want a team rating, I am giving out team ratings, and I am doing my best to answer all fantasy football questions. So go ahead and ask away, and I will help you with your questions for tonight's game. If you have questions about bets for tonight's game, I can help you with that as well. Just give me the exact bet that you're thinking about doing so I can give you my opinion. Terrell T, 12-man Superflex. Half Hurts. Kyler Fields, Gibbs, Mason. Javonte Williams, Brooks, IR London, Godwin, Deontay Higgins, Kyler Fields. You got good quarterbacks. You got really good running back room, although we need to see some more production from Gibbs. Javonte Williams to me is absolutely worthless. Brooks is a good depth piece. London, Godwin, Deontay Higgins. You got very good depth. Just about the same rating as the last team. I give you a solid 7.8. Not quite an 8, but very good team. You can rate my team. Do include bench too. Yeah. I mean, like I'll definitely include the bench. The bench is a pivotal part of the team. I always make sure to rate people's team not only based on their starting roster but on their depth. If Laporta kept up his production, I would be 3 in a row. I'm about to be 2-1. Yeah. It's a little bit unfortunate to see Sam Laporta just kind of like put up like not very good numbers so far in the early season. But hey, it's very, very early. I still think that Laporta is going to bounce back. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Drop a like on the stream. Make sure to subscribe. If you're in here and you haven't liked the video yet, make sure to like the video. And more importantly, make sure to subscribe, as that's going to help me grow my video and grow this channel. And so I can continue to keep doing these live streams. Almost, if not all, elite tight ends have been horrible to start the year. Yeah, this is why I never recommend taking tight ends so early. This happens every single year. There's a tight end that goes off the previous year. Now, it was different with a prime Travis Kelce. He was in a whole tier of his own. But like tight ends, they have an awesome season. And then the next year, people start drafting tight ends in round 3. People were drafting Sam Laporta in round 3. Travis Kelce, not in his prime anymore, round 3. They were drafting, McBride in round 4. I mean, these ADPs are ridiculous for tight ends. They're just simply being taken too high. And I don't like the fact that, I don't know, in my underdog drafts, I was fading the early tight end buttons and just stacking tight ends later in the draft and loading up on running backs and wide receivers early like I'm supposed to. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep asking away your fantasy football questions. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes into the stream. We're getting pretty close to kickoff here for the Bills game. I'm getting excited here, guys. I know you guys are as well. 14-man standard, Murray, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Bijan, Mixon, Ferguson. All right, so you got an elite quarterback. I think you're a little bit weak at your wide receiver position. Bijan, Mixon, Ferguson, Ridley, flex, bench, likely. Andre, Bigsby, Xavier Legette, Braylon Allen. I think you definitely, Frizzle, I think you definitely need some upgrades at your wide receiver position. Devontae Smith and Chris Olave being your wide receiver one isn't that good. However, this is a very deep league, okay? And it's also a standard league. So considering that fact, I'm going to give you a little bit of a pass on the wide receiver room because one, it's a standard league and wide receivers aren't nearly as valuable to begin with. And two, it's a 14-man league. And I do like your running backs. I do think that Bijan Robinson is going to bounce back. I do think that Joe Mixon is going to be very, very good when he's healthy, or not very, very good, but a very serviceable running back too. Ferguson, Ridley, bench, likely Andre, Bigsby, Legette, Braylon Allen, Eckler. I'll give it like a low 7, well above average, but you need some improvements at certain spots, even though it's a 14-man league. But considering the fact that it's a 14-man league, it's certainly an above-average team, considerably above average, actually. I usually never go early tight end, but he fell to me at the 401, but I felt like I could get a good tight end for cheap this year. Well, yeah, I mean, if Sam Laporta fell at the 401, like we have to draft based on ADP in our underdog drafts, right? Especially, so if Sam Laporta is slipping late, then yeah. I mean, if he's slipping to the 4th round, yeah, we're going to be taking him. Dead on Dave. I know it depends on injuries. Yeah, for sure. All right, you guys keep asking away. Keep this comment section rolling. I'm caught up on all comments, so I'm doing my best to answer everybody. And if you haven't commented already on the video and you're just in here watching, that's totally fine. But go ahead and blow up this comment section so we can keep the live stream rolling. All righty, y'all. I'm about an hour and 25 in. Haven't gotten any super chats yet, so I'm probably going to dip out. I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I very much appreciate you guys' fantasy questions and everything like that. Good luck in tonight's games. I hope that everything works out well for you guys, and you're going to see me on the live stream soon, so I will be back. However, I'm not going to stick around up to kickoff because I haven't gotten any super chats, and I really just don't have enough people in here right now. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and good luck tonight on your games. Make sure to hit me up in the comments if you have any questions that I didn't get around to, and I will do my best to answer your question in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. Wouldn't be the same without you, and I will catch you on the next one.